as a whole. And the whole premise is a rising tide raises all boats. So we want to help each other out with really authentic questions, authentic feedback, and overall just have a good time. So there's two of those kind of speakers, and I'm going to be very excited to introduce our speaker today. But before I do, we have a couple of announcements. These are pretty typical ones. If for you new people or anybody here who isn't on the newsletter, you can send an email to Tulsa@1millioncups.com with the subject line newsletter, and we'll get you added onto that newsletter. For us, we are community-led. We're all volunteers. In fact, let me do a quick introduction. My name is Alex Golombievsky. Just Alex will work. We have Intuna Ikuri over there, or Intuna, wave. And then we have Ben Peralt, Mr. Benjamin over there too. We're all three organizers. We have two other ones that aren't here today. But if you're interested in presenting, shoot us an email, find one of us, or just go on to 1millioncups.com/Tulsa and apply to present. They'll actually lead you through the whole presentation process, allowing you to answer questions about your business, who you are. And yeah, hopefully you can be up here and present your idea and get really good feedback and good community support. And then I know a lot of you have already presented here. If you have and you want to present in other places, let us know. We're more than happy to get you to present in Fort Worth or in Arkansas or in Springfield or Kansas City, wherever you need to go. So the Forge is a local incubator here, and they do have office space, and they have one more office. They just filled one of those spaces. So if you're interested in the Forge, shoot them an email. You can shoot an email at jessica@flint@tulsachamber.com. We're tenants over there. It's actually a really cool place. You get to hang out with us. Why not? So if you have an announcement, you can also send an email to Tulsa@1millioncups.com. Any event, anything that you guys have going on, heck, even within your own startup, you have something really cool that you want to announce to the community. Again, we're all community-led. Let us know. We'd love to include it into the announcements. OK Coders is a local coding school. I don't know if that's really accurate. It's not a school, but it's a really cool group that teaches coding. In fact, I saw Gary Booker over there at the last one. They had a mini session a week or two ago for it, which was pretty cool. But they have an 8-week course that teaches you the full range of coding. So if you have just very little coding knowledge and you're interested in learning more, that's a really cool way to get involved. Learn some coding for your own stuff, or heck, even for another startup if you want to. If you're interested, check it out. You can send an email at okcoders@gmail.com. And then this is our field trip. It doesn't say field trip up here, but here in, what is it, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, August 26th, we won't be here. It'll actually be at NSU's Broken Arrow campus, and it starts at 8 a.m., not 9 a.m. It's kind of cool. OCAS has a technology showcase, which is, the whole premise is showing Oklahoma companies and a lot of their innovations and what they're doing here. So we have some pretty cool things going on, and that's just a way to showcase all the cool things that's happening. And we, as 1 Million Cups, are kicking that off at 8 a.m. with the same kind of program that we have over here. And then if you're interested in staying the rest of the day, I think it goes into 1 or 2 o'clock. $35 pays for your lunch, pays for the rest of the showcase, and then you get to hear a keynote speaker from Google, which is really cool. So check it out. I heard the speech is pretty stinking awesome. With that, also, TCC is one of our sponsors. They provide this wonderful venue and space that we have here, so freaking fantastic for them. And for us, we're very fortunate. We also have, of course, Foolish Things Coffee helping us out. We have Arcadia Printing. Am I missing any sponsors? No? Arcadia Printing, they're all sponsors for us, so awesome. TCC, however, has an opening for an assistant professor of entrepreneurship. So if you know somebody who's has an academic background but an entrepreneurial lean, you can have them go right to career@tulsacc.edu. And that I should have taken out, because if you haven't applied yet, too bad, it's too late, but it is really cool. Actually, no, it's not too late. I think you can apply before close at August 7th. Okay, it is too late. I should have taken that out. So hopefully you guys applied. That would have been really cool. There's probably a couple of us. Forrest, did you apply? Sweet. We have our very own Forrest that I know of that's in there too. Anybody else apply for this? Cool. Competition is scarce. You got it. Cool. All right, with that, I'm happy to present and introduce Cici. Cici has a really cool idea that I actually latched onto right away called Society 16. I'll let her introduce it herself and tell you a little more about it. So Cici, give her a welcome hand. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, guys. So my name is Cici. I'm a student at OU. I'm a fellow for I2E this summer. And this is a bit of a departure from what you usually see here at 1 Million Cups. This is actually just a concept that I've had in the back of my mind for a while, something that I wanted to share with you guys this morning. And the concept's name is Society 16. So to start off, I want you to think about the people you know and how you know them. These are probably your coworkers, former classmates, neighbors, family members. The point is, you live in a pretty small world, and it's really hard to venture outside of that world and get to meet people who operate in a totally different realm than you do. At the same time, Tulsa's culture is really starting to grow. So you see a lot of art events, social events, music events. You see a lot of really cool people attending these events. Well, wouldn't it be great if you could go out and meet some of those cool people? And that's what Society 16 is. It's a secret dinner society. Now, before you get any crazy ideas, I want you to have these images in your mind. These pictures are actually from the Instagram feed of Spring Street Social Society, which is a secret dinner society up in New York. So this is sort of the mood. It's warm lighting, intimate spaces, candlelight. That's sort of the mood that Society 16 would take on. What would this look like in Tulsa? Well, first of all, you would need some pretty cool places. Good thing is there are a lot of potential places in Tulsa. Anywhere with personality works, whether that personality is fancy or old school Art Deco or just a nook and cranny place in downtown Tulsa. In fact, Spring Street Social Society has done dinners in the lobbies of banks after hours and in the basements of abandoned buildings, as creepy as that sounds. So clearly something's working for them there. And of course, a dinner society isn't a dinner society without an actual dinner. So the idea here is to partner with local restaurants, provide maybe a 3-course meal with wine. And in that way, it's mutually beneficial. They could put their food in front of potential patrons, and at the same time, members of Society 16 could enjoy food from great local businesses. But most importantly, it's about the people. Anyone in this room, anyone in Tulsa could be a member. Whether that's a professional, student, artist, anyone with interesting outlooks on life, interesting life stories, anything that they would want to share and would be willing to share with a group of strangers over dinner. So with people, that's kind of what it would look like. You see these people clearly come from all walks of life. There's a guy in scrubs somewhere in there, like Waldo's probably in there somewhere. But they're all just talking, laughing, having a great time. You can sort of imagine, and maybe I'm just idealizing this a lot, but you can sort of hear clinking wine glasses, clinking silverware, rumbling conversation, and they're just having a great time listening to each other and really connecting with people that they may not otherwise have met. So a bit of logistics. Membership could be applied for using an online application where you just fill out a bit about yourself, basics, what you do, interesting things about yourself. And the secret aspect of this, so there's an element of mystery. The idea is to keep the location and menu totally under wraps until maybe an hour or two before the actual event. So then, you could receive a mysterious anonymous text message or email telling you where to go that night and maybe a hint about the night's theme or menu. And so why do something like this? Well, first of all, it's just something interesting to do, and it brings a little bit of quirkiness to Tulsa, and it contributes that much more interestingness, culture to our city. But more importantly, it brings Tulsans closer to each other. It allows people to talk, laugh, share stories, and really venture outside of their relatively small social worlds and meet someone that they may not have met before, that they walk by on a daily basis on the sidewalks. And that's what Society 16 is all about, is connecting people. So with that, it's a short presentation, I know, but I would love to field any questions.
Okay, you guys know this part. For the new people here, this is the opportunity for the community to ask really poignant questions, good feedback. We have a couple already here. I have one here. Here you go, Dave.
I love it. Sign me up. Me and this guy right here, we're going. So you said the logistics could be, and you've obviously done some research about one of the secret societies in New York. What would it take to bring that together? I mean, and obviously monetizing it's one thing, but do you have a projected idea of when to start, or are you just trying to get feedback from everybody to see if it's a good idea to jump into?
Yeah, so the way that this would start is contacting these venues, contacting restaurants, seeing if they would be interested in partnerships where we wouldn't be paying full price for renting out a venue or serving a 3-course meal to a group of 16 people. So a lot of that starts with the contacting on the back end businesses that would be interested in partnerships. And on the front end, it would be doing things like Launch Rock, just having people sign up via filling in their emails and seeing how many people are actually interested in an idea like this. So it is sort of, the next steps would be to contact businesses and seeing if they would be willing to do partnerships, and also seeing the community-wide response and seeing if people are interested on a community level. So.
Okay, we have a question up front here.
So there is a secret dinner society in Tulsa already. It's been going on for several years now. And what they do is they bring in a chef from a local restaurant into a private residence. And you don't get the email. Well, you get the email notification, a few weeks in advance, and you're notified of the menu, but you're not notified of the location. And part of that is so they can keep costs down by not having to rent these locations. And their goal is not monetization, but the focus is on the food and experiencing, letting the chefs explore their culinary, mastery with the people. And it's fun because it's about the food. And I know here it's kind of switching the gears towards the interaction of the people, meeting people. How are you going to balance that, the foodies versus the interesting conversation and kind of following on the previous questions, the monetization, and how much are you looking per head? I know in Tulsa that secret society is about $150 a person. So where are you at, and what have you gone down that path far?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So price is definitely something to consider, especially if you want to attract a bunch of different people who may not necessarily want to pay $150 for a dinner. And so here, I've done some preliminary digging, and ideally it'd be around $70 or $80 a head. And that's not obviously accessible to everybody, but that's probably for a 3-course meal at a nice, interesting location. That's probably pretty accessible, or as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So 70 or 80 a head. And again, yeah, you're right. It is about the conversations and the people more than the food. Obviously, you want good food, and that can be a conversation starter in itself. So yeah, it is more about the people.
We have another question here, but before that, we were told TCC has an air conditioning issue, so it sounds like feedback. It isn't actually feedback. That little whining noise is AC. So.
Sure it is. Yeah. So since it is about people, is this an event that is, inbound, where people come up and they sign up and anybody can come? Or is this going to be more of a curated group of people that you go and invite to get certain people there to make sure that the conversations are interesting?
That's a good question. It could be both. With the membership application and the idea of getting community feedback, that was more of the first one. So it was more of people signing up and coming to this. But you're right, actually. We could go out into certain communities like this and have sign-ups or invite certain people to come who we know would be great people to have at these dinners. So it could actually be both, and I hadn't thought about that. So, yeah.
All right, we have another question back here.
I'd be really excited to go out and have a mystery dinner, but I wonder how many other people would. Is your goal to see this to be a for-profit business venture, just an entertainment session, or is that an unknown so far?
That is an unknown, and I think for something like this, if your primary goal is profit, then you probably shouldn't be doing this. You're not in it for the right reasons. So the primary goal of this isn't for the money. It's about building this sense of community, and I'm a fan of money, but that's not the number one primary goal of this. And if we do make money along the way, that would be cool, and that would be great, and it'd be cool to expand and see this go out into other cities in the U.S. And scale that way. But But yeah, it's more about building the community, especially at first in Tulsa, than it is about the dollars.
All right, another question back here.
Along those lines, why don't you make it a nonprofit and therefore you can get sponsorships and then have a mix of students with affluent members of the community come together so that ideas can be exchanged at multiple levels of the community?
I hadn't thought about doing it as a nonprofit, but that's something to consider. Thanks.
Have another question right up front.
First of all, I think it's a great idea. I'm all about this kind of secret stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.
How committed are you to this idea? Is it something that's just like an idea may work, you're just looking for feedback, or is this something that you really want to take off and commit to and do it as a definite, surefire thing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm going to be going back to Norman, OU, actually next week. So it's probably not going to happen in Tulsa this summer. But still, if this is an idea that I take back with me that I can maybe do in Oklahoma City, which is 30 minutes away from Norman, then that would be something that I would really love to see. And a lot of it is validating the fact that I'm not crazy and that people would actually be willing to sign up and do this thing, right? So getting feedback from you guys and seeing that this is something that people would want, that's really cool for me to see, and it gives me more motivation to bring it to whether it's Tulsa next summer or Oklahoma City in the fall.
Another question from Tom.
Yeah, thank you. I do think it's a great idea. You mentioned Spring Street in New York, and their model is to bring value not just through the food, but through the event. It really is an event when they get together. It could be a play. It could be a cabaret show. I mean, they focus on entertainment as part of the food culture. So I think as you go through this and define kind of your concept, that value proposition that I'm not sure food alone in, camaraderie is going to be the value proposition that's going to survive long term. That I think something else has got to be put into the equation that draws people in.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There could certainly be other aspects to this other than just food. It could be whether, maybe like, I don't even know. Doing an entertainment aspect, something that brings that extra element besides just the food. Yeah.
So I have a comment. I love this idea. I think it's really stinking cool. But hearing you talk about that it's also more than just experience. There's another, Millicent Brasserie, Ben? Vincent DePaul started another restaurant in Broken Arrow, and it is a really cool culinary experience, but it's also an experience where he gets a whole bunch of people on one single table. You don't have individual tables, so you do have the elbow to elbow with somebody you don't know, which actually I thought I was a really big fan of when I tried. And then two, it wasn't quite entertainment like a play, but their whole dining room looks like a balcony of some French restaurant of some kind too. So it was really, really interesting. And to your point, it wasn't just about the food. The food was spectacular. It was also the experience and the talking and the conversation and everything else. So overall, I think if you explore what makes that successful, because they've had some recent really, really great press from Tulsa World and from other things, then you can incorporate a lot of those things into this idea. I have one question here.
So I don't know if there's going to be a slide or something that shows us how to connect with you. This is a comment as well. I'm a huge fan of seeking validation that I'm not crazy. So just to help out, like show of hands, is there anybody that would be interested in this idea? There you go.
You have to raise your hand, yeah.
We have a question up front up here.
I did want to confirm that he is slightly crazy, so maybe not all the way, but at least slightly. And so my question is, what's holding you back? And what has stopped you from creating an Eventbrite thing and finding a chef and a location and testing it once or twice? What's holding you back? What's your barrier to entry right now?
Yeah, right now a lot of it is that finding a place and finding a restaurant. So that's, especially when you don't have something already off the ground, it's hard to put something together. And it's a lot harder than it sounds, reaching out to dozens of businesses, and I've done that before for other stuff, and trying to get someone to agree with you and agree to, in this case, bring down the price on something. And so that's definitely a huge barrier, and a lot of that also goes to the fact that I also work full-time for I2E. So it's like, yeah. So yeah, this summer has been really busy, and that's not an excuse, but on the other hand, reaching out to a lot of people takes a lot of time. So that is a huge barrier.
And we have another question right here.
So, yeah, first of all, yeah, get ready. When you're starting a new business, get ready to work 3 or 4 jobs at once, right? Just a comment, I raised my hand. I would be interested, but at the same time as I see the pictures of the New York City venue, it didn't appeal to me where there was large crowds. And you had your name 16, so maybe you might elaborate on that thought of maybe you're going to limit it to groups of 16 or even the seating where it might be 4 or 5 people. You get above 6 or 7 people, and then it's hard to carry on conversations, I think. So just some thoughts about that.
Yeah. And the number is, I mean, in a smaller city like Tulsa, it would be a lot harder to pull off something with like 50 or 70 people. So that's also another reason why I picked a smaller number like 16.
So yeah, another question over here.
A question and a suggestion. One is, what is your major?
So I'm chemistry and biochemistry. Yeah, obviously.
No problem.
Obviously.
I wanted to be president of the United States when I was your age, so, thank God I didn't do that. But the other thing is, just down through the years of things that I've done, there is an Oklahoma Restaurant Association. Somebody may know, is there a Tulsa Restaurant Association? Okay, so I'm just thinking as a suggestion, there's probably some resources for restaurants that you might be able to tap into that might save you some legwork.
Cool. Thanks.
While I'm walking over here, yeah, since this idea resonates really well, I think that if you tap into the right kind of people who has a restaurant, I might walk slower, then you can open up more doors that way too.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
So we've been wanting to do something similar to this in the Jeffersonian dinner idea. You get lots of thinkers in one place, and they have these great debates and things like that. Another model that I've seen in New York that I think could be really interesting is the limited, like 16 people, and you do them monthly or quarterly or whatever it is. But basically, those 16 people each get an invitation that they give to the next 16 people, and then they give to the next 16 people. And so it's this scarcity. I mean, there is truly exclusive, like this person, they invite someone they think could be a really, could contribute to it. So it's just an interesting take on it that may or may not be valuable, but
cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Another one here?
Are you against like a small amount of people, like 20 people? Because, I mean, I've never been to one of these or whatever, but it seems like to a certain type of person, the exclusivity of it would appeal. They wouldn't want a big group. They would want to be like, it I guess stimulates demand that way. So are you against a small group, or do you envision it as a bigger, more broad, people wearing T-shirts, people wearing suits, like that entire thing? Or
Yeah. No, I'm not against like a small group. Like, the reason why I picked 16 was because I didn't want it to be like an awkward 5-person dinner where like the conversation died. On the other hand, I didn't want it to be a huge event with 50 or so people, because then, I mean, that would be interesting, but first of all, it would probably be harder in a smaller city like Tulsa. But in terms of growth, I think it should grow in terms of more dinners and not necessarily bigger dinners. And I think part of that is you have to consider the venues and the physical spaces. And and so if you have too many people, you don't really get the advantage of being able to book these really smaller spaces, just like, just one room in a larger building type deals, just small nooks and crannies. So I think in that way, 16 is at least in the right range of people. But no, I'm not against like throwing huge New Year's dinner parties somewhere. So that would be fun, actually.
Yeah, I have a question. So there are already things that you have done to just gauge the level of interest for the idea. Can you talk about ways in which you plan to validate that this will work either in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, or things that you have either already done and things that you plan to do moving forward to get better validation before you jump in with 2 feet?
Yeah, so something that could be done would be to do, and Alex and you guys introduced me to this Launch Rock, where you construct a landing page and people can sign up with their emails if they're interested. And so I have started constructing one of those that eventually people could go on and put their emails in to gauge interest and eventually reach out to those people when it does start. So constructing MVPs like that, definitely, for sure. And that's probably the best way to gauge interest.
I have another question here.
So you talk about 16 being the number, which seems kind of small. So would you have, I guess, a couple questions. Would you have multiple of these occurring simultaneously? And if you were, I was thinking, what if this pivoted into something where you could organize this for other people? Maybe the business is organizing it for groups. I'm thinking, I'd love to have a way or some sort of organized way of experiencing different dining places in Tulsa, maybe with a group of friends, but I have no interest whatsoever in organizing it, right? Mm-hmm. But if perhaps there was a service that me and several people or a group of people could subscribe to that would handle it for us. I don't know if, does that make sense what I'm saying? But maybe I guess there's one question there. Is it just the 16? Is it one group, or is it multiple simultaneously?
So I mean, if there is enough demand, could do multiple dinners per month that people could have the option of signing up for. But no, I wasn't thinking simultaneous. I was thinking at least starting off with one dinner group of 16 per month, and then if there is high enough demand, doing multiple dinners per month, but not necessarily at the same time. I mean, there's nothing wrong with simultaneously, but that just, I wasn't thinking in terms of doing it all at the same time, but scattering them so people could have the option of different dates.
All right. Well, that final question that we ask every week, what can 1 Million Cups and the entrepreneurial community do for you?
So this is in the idea stage. Just tell me if this is something that you would be interested in seeing. I mean, you kind of already have. Introduce me to restaurants or venues that would be willing to host or cater one of these types of events, who would be interested in really getting into that sort of community level interaction with small groups of people and contributing to the community in that way. Really just connect me with people, tell me if you're interested, stuff like that. Very beginning stages.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. All right, so before we close, we recognize that we see a lot of new faces this week. If you are new to 1 Million Cups, can you raise your hand so we see you?